So that was on Instagram doing an Ask Me Anything, and then I realized I f***ed up. Now, if you ever forgotten a friend's birthday, then you know exactly how I feel, because I had one of the biggest releases of 2024 in my hands, and I never opened it. It's not exactly like missing a friend's birthday, but you know what I mean. Kilian's Old Fashioned was one of the biggest releases for 2024, at least in my mind, because everything from Kilian is big. Pause. Here's the deal, man. I've been holding on to this fragrance since its release. I've even posted it on Instagram a few times talking about I'm getting around to it, but this got lost in a pile of other fragrances that I picked up and I never got around to it. So today we're gonna discover this one together, and if you haven't tried this one yet, then hopefully you're in for a treat. Old Fashioned is supposed to be a part of Kilian's Liquors collection, and there we see a lot of amazing fragrances. One of my personal favorite fragrances resides there is Angel Share. You have Apple on the Rocks. You also have Roses on Ice, and now we have Old Fashioned. So here we are with the 2024 release of Kilian's Old Fashioned, and honestly, I'm not sure how this one slipped my mind. But at any rate, I promise by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why it deserves your full attention and quite possibly a spot on your shelf. Plus, if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll reveal a special trick Kilian uses to make sure their bottles stick around forever. Now, as you would expect, Kilian always comes off as almost like an evil genius, and he's the mastermind behind this fragrance as well. Now, he doesn't personally put them together, he just picks the best people to make these fragrances come to life. And this one happened to be created by Sidonie Lancaster, and she's the nose behind Black Phantom, Angel Share, Apple Brandy on the Rocks, Light My Fire, and the list goes on. Now, according to Kilian, this fragrance is supposed to be inspired by the rich taste of an 18-year-old single malt whiskey. Now, I don't have an 18-year-old single malt whiskey with me. However, based on his family's heritage and legacy, I'll have to take his word. But let's spray it on skin and see what we get. Oh, this is boozy. Yes, yeah, okay. Yeah, I see what we're doing. This is one of those fragrances you should enjoy responsibly. Because the booze is right at the top. Now, again, this is supposed to be off an 18-year-old malt whiskey, and let me tell you, this fragrance, you're getting all of that whiskey up front. Now, what I do find interesting here is that it doesn't smell like you are like this wino leaving the bar and just reeking of all the alcohol you drunk. No, this one smells a little bit more sophisticated. In fact, a lot more sophisticated than that imagery, but it does come off as something like you just sipped on something that's super strong, but also super smooth. And the top of this fragrance, you get wheat and Divana, and the wheat in the scent almost gives it this Honey Nut Cheerios vibe. However, I personally find that to be short-lived because a lot of that whiskey is coming through heavy. It's whiskey, and not a ton of sweetness. Again, it comes off as smooth. It's definitely a well-blended and well-crafted scent, but I can tell you on that first spray that although I enjoy it as a fragrance connoisseur, for the average consumer, this might not be one of the go-to fragrances. Which I totally understand, because when you're purchasing a fragrance, you want to be able to wear it on a lot of occasions. And this one here, for me, at least on first spray, this is coming off as a scent that's really targeted for those people out there who enjoy those boozy natures in fragrance and are looking for a special occasion scent and not one that you can wear every day. I also feel that way about Apple Brandy on the Rocks, and a ton of other scents out there. So it's not anything exclusive to this fragrance, but just something to be mindful of. Now, what I'm about to say might sound weird, but it's super true. As I go back to smell this one on skin, this fragrance is uber dry. It doesn't have a lot of sweet sweetness in there. So if you're not a fan of Angel Share or Black Phantom, because of the sweetness there, this is probably one that might be more up your alley, given that you are into the boozy nuance within these scents. Now, if this one had a texture to it, or if you just had to visualize this scent, this one's super dry. And if it was on skin, like if I had to visualize it as skin, it would be like an ashy skin. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't all business. There is just a smidge of sweetness here, which is likely on account of the Toulouse balsam that's in the base of the scent, which gives it this slightly sweet, resinous feel that just combines well with the wheat that you got here in the top, as well as some of that styrax that you get in the mid of this scent as well. So was the mission accomplished? Smelling like an aged 18-year-old whiskey, I would say overwhelmingly yes. Now, as I mentioned, I don't have one to compare it side by side to, but smelling this scent, it does have this uber boozy feel to it, but it does come off as classy. It does come off as a scent that is really refined, and it doesn't come off as like messy. This one feels uber controlled, and you know exactly what you're gonna get. And if you are into it old fashioned, then you might be into this. Now for me, when I think of a perfect old fashioned, you're gonna have obviously some whiskey, you're gonna have some simple syrup, you're gonna have a little orange there as well, and you just top it off with the cherry. And if you like that extra smoke on there too, you can do that. It gives it that woody, smoky feel to the overall scent. I enjoy this fragrance in that way. It's not as sweet as I would get from an old fashioned inside of like a restaurant or something like that. Now, an old fashioned isn't particularly sweet. It's just the cherry on top that gives it that little extra razzle dazzle. And I feel like this misses that sweetness in the top here, because it works from the top down to the base, simply how fragrances work. And it's just missing that sweetness in the top to give it that true old fashioned vibe, in my personal opinion. In fact, fun fact, old fashions are one of the only drinks that I drink. So in my first impressions, who's this fragrance for? I don't feel like this fragrance is for everyone. Again, I feel this one is for the more mature fragrance collector. And by more mature, I don't mean necessarily in age. I mean more so in experience with a scent. Now, when I first came across Kilian fragrances, Black Phantom was one of those first scents that I experienced, and that immediately took me to the next level within my fragrance journey. And I think that this is one of those scents that can help elevate you and really get your nose to begin to experience how fragrance can imitate life. But if you're looking to wear this one to school for a ton of compliments or to work, I'm going to advise you against that, because this one's not going to work in either scenario. But on the other hand, if you're looking for a fragrance that just shows that you have depth and you have a range of fragrances within your collection that would challenge some of the noses out there who may not be into scents as well, then this is one of those scents you might go for. So if you're looking to pick this one up, I would say that would be the reason why. And as promised, I gotta give you this insider secret, which may not be much of a secret at all. If you've been on social media or if you're familiar with the Kilian brand, you likely already know this, but if not, let me put you on game. Each of the Kilian fragrances come in a reusable bottle, which allows you to save a little bit of money when it's time to re-up on the scent that you truly love. All you do is unscrew this little part here, pull it out, and you are good to go. You just go ahead and put your refill in there, and it's done. It's really that simple. So there you have it. That's my take on Kilian's Old Fashioned, the 2024 release, and I'm so sorry that I only got around to you in 2025. So let me know your thoughts on Kilian's Old Fashioned, and let me know if you're excited for the new Angel Share release. Now, if you enjoyed this video, click here to see 10 fragrances I'd start with if I was starting from scratch.